hear me? Yes? Oh, good. So I think it's a good idea to put the headphones on. Right. So I'll just check on the time. Oh, it's 1:10. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Absolutely brilliant to be here. Great turnout, the show and everything. So we've got a great lineup. Just a few bits of housekeeping I just want to start with. I think it's fairly clear. You'll have the QR code to scan. If you want to submit questions, it's via Slido and using hashtag IZ24. And if you're posting on any social media, please remember to use hashtag Innovation0. Okay? So I'm just going to start with a few opening remarks just to set the scene. I'm absolutely delighted to be here today chairing the Transport and Mobility Forum at Innovation0. And this, I really am impressed with the lineup of speakers. We've got a great day, so I'm really looking forward to hearing the discussion. As you'll see, it's very relevant to our work at Zemo Partnership. I mean, this is a really important and timely discussion because the imperative to deliver on net zero presents the world with its greatest challenge, its greatest long-term challenge, but also its greatest opportunity. And at the moment, there is widespread concern about the dangers of climate change, but across the world, we're witnessing something of a backlash against green policies. So, we know that here in the UK, 8 out of 10 people are concerned about climate change, but don't know what they should do. And the challenge often comes in the implementation of policies that require people to make changes to how they live their lives. So what we really need is a proper national debate, a national discussion about net zero. I mean, it's really regrettable that even the term net zero has becoming under criticism that, it's unhelpful. And that's because so many people, or more and more people, are suggesting that we can't afford it, that net zero is going to cost too much. But we know that the counter-narrative is the right one. I mean, as Chris Skidmore showed us in his review, net zero is the growth opportunity of the 21st century. And actually, we have a strong track record in the UK. The Climate Change Act of 2008 was the first piece of legislation of its kind anywhere in the world. And we were the first advanced economy to commit to net zero by 2050. And businesses have responded because the market signals have been clear. So here in the UK, we can boast of world-leading growth in offshore wind and clean energy. So, having been trailblazers, we are now somewhat at risk, though, of being outpaced by international competitors. A race is on to see who will win the new green industries. And we've got to move fast if we're going to capitalise on the transition. An ambitious industrial strategy would act as a catalyst for new technologies and innovation and would bring jobs and manufacturing to the UK. But above all, for business and investor confidence, we've got to ensure that the UK's commitment to net zero remains unequivocal. We've got some world-leading targets, but what we now need is a laser-like focus on delivery. I mean, the phase we're in right now for net zero is all about implementation and scale-up. We should celebrate the rollout of the EVs so far, but huge challenges remain if we're going to achieve mass market penetration, and critically some major issues around integration of energy and transport. We need solutions for freight, but policy's got to be designed in such a way that SMEs are not penalised. We've got to scale up zero-emission buses, but whilst ensuring that we protect our vital bus networks. And importantly, the carbon impact from transport is the sum of all the vehicles on the road. So we've really got to maximise the use of low-carbon renewable fuels as part of the transition. Critically, we have to ensure that the transition to net zero transport is fair. As we have seen with the challenges involved in the implementation of the expansion of the ULEZ zone. If we don't work hard to ensure that net zero is perceived as fair, we risk undermining the whole transition. And net zero cannot be thought about in isolation from other policy areas. We have to think about air pollution, the implications of roads policy, life cycle emissions. And climate change has been described as the biggest market failure the world has ever seen. Now, at the root of this is the failure to price properly for carbon. We need to think holistically, creatively, holistically, about how we can maximise the efficiency of our transport system. We need cross-party agreement to begin to look for new ways to pay for road use to replace fuel duty as the fleet electrifies. If we do nothing about the existing cost structures, we are baking in rising traffic growth and congestion at the expense of more beneficial alternatives. And in this crucial delivery phase, it is local decision makers who will be making many of the key infrastructure investments and decisions. And actually it's often easier at a regional level to break down the silos of government and develop integrated strategies for transport, housing, skills, jobs and economic development. We must ensure that our local leaders are enabled to plan and invest for net zero on an integrated long-term basis. So bringing all of this together will be no small feat. And what we crucially need at this point, just as the music starts, is a delivery roadmap. What we really need is a credible and detailed plan as a delivery roadmap, as we're describing it, to ensure that everything happens in the time that it needs to happen. And Zemo Partnership has played a central role in the decarbonisation of transport since 2003. And we are a kind of uniquely bring together government, industry and experts, and we're unbiased by any interest group. So as such, we are well placed to lead on the development of the delivery roadmap for net zero transport. So we've convened a new council for net zero transport, which is chaired by Lord Deben, will provide strategic oversight and help to steer the UK's transport decarbonisation through this next crucial delivery phase. And we aim to publish the delivery roadmap by the autumn, so watch this space. So as you can imagine, I'm absolutely delighted to be chairing today's Transport and Mobility Forum because, frankly, we are covering so many areas that are critically important for the delivery of net zero transport. So we're going to be hearing about how we can unlock the potential of sustainable transport, how we can ensure that there is a diverse and, renewable supply of energy for our vehicles and for our freight, how we can plug the funding gap and ensure that the UK is competitive and strategically aligned internationally, how we can reduce emissions through better traffic modelling and better management of our streets. What's the potential of zero carbon fleets? Looking forward to hearing about that. And finally, we'll be reflecting on how we can really move to a sustainable resource management economy. So it'll be very interesting. I'm looking forward to hearing about how, what business opportunities are presented by discarded batteries. So this is a whole new world that we're entering and very much looking forward to this. But I just want, before I close and introduce our first speaker, the final thing I just really want to emphasise is we have got to sell the benefits of net zero. Green growth is the only kind of growth possible. The net zero transition will mean cleaner air, better health outcomes, reduced congestion, more equitable access and, better energy security. So net zero, we should be looking and selling net zero. Net zero is our chance to build a cleaner, fairer, safer future.